All right, welcome back into Blend Bar and Bistro. This is the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920, the Jersey. Oh, this pizza that they brought me here at Blend Bar and Bistro was just absolutely phenomenal. A little basil, nice mozzarella cheese and sauce, and also the pepperoni. Real quickly, though, before we get to Stan White, there is some breaking news. The Giants, as we've been covering this Josh Brown story all day, they finally released a statement. The statement reads, Josh Brown will not travel with the team to London in light of the news report regarding the documents released by the state of Washington yesterday. We think it makes sense to review the newly disclosed information and to revisit this issue following our trip to London. The Giants do not condone or excuse any forms of domestic violence. Josh has acknowledged that he has had issues in his life and has been working on these issues through therapy and counseling for a long period of time. We remain supportive of Josh and his efforts. So now joining us on the hotline is a Ravens color analyst, along with my good friends Jerry Sandusky and also Kadri Ismail. That is Stan White, who does a tremendous job covering the Ravens and is also a former player. And Stan joins us right now. Stan, Zach Gelb, appreciate a few minutes. And how are you, my friend?
Doing well. In fact, just walked off the old Memorial Field site. They have a high school field there now, and we were practicing there, but sort of brings back old memories on 33rd Street in Baltimore, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, that must be awesome for you as you reminisced about the good times in your career. I have to ask you, though, because you do coach high school football right now, and there's a lot of conversation today about how football players are role models. And I know you probably have a lot of kids that look up to players in the National Football League. When you see things that happen in the National Football League with domestic violence, what do you just say to your players on how they should conduct themselves, even as high school kids, and how they should respect women?
Well, yeah, we do a lot on how you treat women, as we've always done that. When homecoming dances come, we make our kids call the parents of the girl and ask them their permission, tell them what time they're going to pick them up, what time they're going to bring them home, things like that. And we emphasize, how would you want your mother treated? How would you want your sister treated? And that sort of brings it home a little bit. You've got to stay on that, though, because guys sort of can lose, as you know, guys can lose track of that in certain situations. So we try to stay on that heavily. But around homecoming, especially every year, and when things like this happen with Josh Brown, we go over that, talk about it, and try to emphasize, because most of these kids, they love their mother, and if we can emphasize how would you like her to be treated, then they sort of get the picture a little bit.
And you were around the Ravens when the whole Ray Rice incident happened, and I don't condone, obviously, what Ray did, but Ray since has shown a lot of remorse and has done everything the right way and has not been able to get that second chance, and a large part of that was because the video that we saw. But here in the Josh Brown case, it really makes me wonder. He only gets a game. His wife says, and I know she didn't talk to the National Football League, but there was alleged 20 cases of domestic violence between Josh and also his now ex-wife, and there was also an issue at the Pro Bowl where they had to remove Josh and the children, Josh's wife and the children, and put them in a different hotel. I really just wonder what the National Football League has learned since the Ray Rice incident, because they do have that new personal conduct policy, but no one's faced the 6 games yet.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if he got a real heavy penalty on this, because they did end up blowing it in the Ray Rice because they believed his account, and then the video came out. Now, Ray is one of the it was shocking for me because I got to know Ray real well. He was big in the community. He talked about bullying. He went into all the schools and gave speeches against bullying and things like that. And for that to come out was just completely different than what he is. And we use that with the kids too, that what alcohol can do to you, what, mind-altering things can do to you, and what one bad decision can do to affect the rest of your life. So I think these kids, we can teach something from all these incidents that's happened. But you're right, these kids do, copy what the NFL players do. And that's why I'm so strongly against them being allowed to use marijuana as a deterrent for the pain and suffering. I understand it might work, but these kids will start wanting to do it too, and that could lead them completely in the wrong direction in life.
I just really question the priorities of the National Football League, because if you see someone celebrate now, you're getting fined. Like what happened in the Eagles-Redskins game the other week. Vernon Davis has been doing something his entire career, does the balling single and flips the football, and he gets a 15-yard penalty. It just seems like they care more about the celebrations and smoking marijuana than they do about players hitting women, which should never happen.
Yes, I mean, and we gotta emphasize that in our society again.
You're
I
right.
was raised that way, that you never touch a woman. I don't know that that is being taught in schools or in churches or any place anymore. And I think we need to re-emphasize that a man never hits a woman, and we have to. I think we got to bring that as an emphasis in our teaching in general society. But I agree with you. I think they need to go do a better job prioritizing things, not always worried about the image, but worries about the substance of what's going on with their players and everybody, and their players, their coaches, right on down the line, and worry about the things that are important or more important than just celebrating in the end zone.
Stan White with us on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey, coming to you today from Blend Bar and Bistro. Let's put some finishing touches on the Ravens-Giant game. Stan, the officiating's really bad. I've watched that play countless number of times on Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie. I still don't see how they thought that was pass interference. How about you?
Oh no, I happened to be right down on the field, right at that, and I thought they were going to call it on the offense because I didn't see any defensive interference at all. And I agree, that was a bad call. And I mean, I've been on this bandwagon since I played. That the officials just are not good enough. They may be the best ones in the world right now, but they're still not good enough. They have to take these. They got to start training officials from the time they get out of college. They got all these kids every year that don't make it in the NFL that they can start training, put into high school, let them work their way up to college, and train them to be officials. These guys out there now are my age, and I can run circles around them. I mean, they just aren't. They are not capable of keeping up and making those calls. They should be full time. They should be working during the week. They should have accountability during the week, being graded just like the players are, and somebody going over with them, going out and going over it in practice. They could be with a team and just not ever officiate that team. So there's a lot of things that I think that they should have done 25, 30 years ago that they need to do now.
And people wonder why the ratings are down. I was watching that Monday Night Football game, and even the announcer, McDonough, he was saying, yeah, I'd probably turn this off if I was watching at home because everything is so ticky-tack now. You can't get away with anything.
Yeah, I was proud of Sean. Sean is an old partner of mine. We used to do the Ivy League together, so I was proud of him for saying that because he's right. I mean, there's a lot of explanations to why it's down, from the games that are being put on television to the debate to the protest to everything else, and they're probably all having a little bit of effect. But there's no doubt that all these flags, are just ruining the game, the flow of the game, and the game itself. And they need to do something and do it better. There's too many judgment calls for officials to make, and the problem is every official. When it's judgment, every official is going to be a little bit different on how they call things. So the players don't know, what's going to be a penalty and what's not going to be a penalty. The obvious ones are easy. It's the ones in between that they call differently by group. Teams now, they get a scouting report on the officials, and they go over that with their players. And no, this team calls more holding. This team calls more defensive pass interference. All these different things. And you have to change the way you play based upon the officials you get, and that should not be the case.
Do you think they got the Odell Beckham penalty right?
Which Odell Beckham penalty are you referring to?
The one where he took his helmet off.
Yes. That is just a rule, and I agree with that because I think mostly guys do that to showboat, and I believe in celebrations, but I don't believe in showboating. So yeah, that one was, they probably could have. I didn't know they called one about him with the kicking net, so I didn't think they did, but Now he's going to marry the net. So who knows what's going on? But yeah, I think the guys should leave their helmets on. And because again, I don't want my high school kids doing that, because all that does is, try to bring, we're trying to preach team and not individuality out there, and all that does is sort of, point to me a lot.
I did the Temple football games during the career of Tavon Young, and I know Tavon bumped into someone on that final Odell Beckham touchdown, but it looks like you have a pretty darn good player. When I saw him in college, he could cover anyone, no matter what his size is of that opposing wide receiver. So how about Tavon?
Yeah, they're really happy with Tavon. I mean, he and Eric Weddle did, and he lost his technique. He wasn't supposed to let Odell inside at all, because if you do let him inside, you might end up, running into one of your own players or one of the other players. So he lost his technique, but he did run into Eric Weddle there. But other than that, he's done a really good job, especially for a rookie in this league. You don't find too many that can come in and play regularly as a rookie corner in this league and be able to sustain it week after week.
So let's get into the matchup this week, Ravens and Jets at MetLife Stadium. The Ravens are basically calling MetLife Stadium home these days, but you take a look at this Ravens team, 3 straight losses. I thought they were a better team than that going in the year. I know that the injury bug has killed them, but where's the confidence of this Ravens team right now?
Well, I think it's in flux, the confidence at this point. And when you lose 3 close games like they did, all of them at the end of the game, on the last play of the game or close to it, it tends to suck away your confidence. And, here we go again. So to me, this is if there is such thing as a must win, and I think they think this too, at this point in the season, this is it for the Ravens to go in and lose to a 1-5 team, right? And they go on they have their bye week coming up after this week. That would be 3-4. That would be probably disastrous for them. They have to look on the bright side. If they win, they beat the Jets, and Pittsburgh has to play New England without Ben Roethlisberger. If they win, they're tied for first place in their division going into the bye, and that puts everything back to square one.
There's no excuses for the Ravens this week because the Jets are really bad. 1-5. This is the final 7th game of their really tough schedule to start the year. And I looked at that Jets defense going into the year, and I thought it was going to be a really good unit, but consistently they allowed big plays, and they were ran all over by David Johnson the other night. I know the Ravens' offense has not been good this year. You already had an offensive coordinator fired, but there's no excuses, right, for the Ravens this week. This offense should have a good performance on Sunday, right?
Yes. Yeah, it should. They should be able to, I think the Jets have sort of, I know they say they're getting back to what they are by doing all this blitzing and so forth, but at some point when defensively, if you start doing that, it's because you've exhausted everything else. And whether it's getting back or whether you're just nothing to lose, you're going to start sending people right and left. And I think that's what they're doing at this point. And, that allows, because whenever you do that, you send 5 or 6, there's some weak spots. And one thing Joe is really good at, and hopefully he'll play. He has a shoulder problem himself, did not practice today, but he's good at spotting those holes in a defense. And so I'm anxious to see how he reacts to these 4 and 5 and 6 guys coming after him.
If Flacco does not play, we know the importance that he has to the football team for the Baltimore Ravens. Next up would be Ryan Mallett. Where would your confidence level be if it's Ryan Mallett under center on Sunday?
Not bad. There's not too many really high-level backups in this league because there's probably not enough quarterbacks to have a great starter on every team, obviously. And but Ryan Mallett is a guy who's came in last year and did a really good job for the Ravens when Joe got hurt. And they're really confident that he can step in. He's very much like Joe, a big, tall, strong-armed guy. So they want Joe to be in there. They have more confidence with Joe being in there. But it's not like, oh, no, there's no way that we can win. I think they are confident they can win, especially this game with Ryan Mallett.
Stan White with us on the Zach Gelb Show. So let's look at this Jets offense. We know it's an anemic unit. They've sat Ryan Fitzpatrick, now going to Geno Smith. I know the Jets' run game is not great, but you'd imagine they run the ball a little bit more than the last 2 weeks. If I'm the Ravens, I would load up that box and dare Geno Smith to throw it, because usually what we've seen so far in his career, that means an interception.
Well, I think the good thing is they probably don't have to load up the box. They're number one in the NFL against the run right now. And they have some stout guys in there, Brandon Williams, Tim Jernigan, Lawrence Guy, at the line of scrimmage that are just eating up people. So they're pretty good against the run. So see, that's the good thing. If you can stop the run without loading up the box, then that makes you that much better defensively. I think they're third overall defensively right now in the National Football League. They just gave up a few big plays last week that killed them.
There's no question the Jets, they had to try something new. This is a lost season. May as well see what Geno Smith has left. Does Geno Smith at all, as someone on the opposition and doing their radio broadcast, does Geno Smith put any fear into you or no?
Not to me, no. I would rather have Geno Smith in there than Ryan Fitzpatrick, because I think Fitzpatrick still, on a certain day, can beat you himself, because he's a smart guy. He's had big games in the past. He's struggling right now, but I think he could have that day where everything's right for him. I'm not sure that Geno has one of those days. So I think everything would have to go right. He's going to have to run the ball a little. He's going to have to do some things to scramble to be able to beat the Ravens, I think.
How's my friend Kadri Ismail, by the way?
Kadri Q's doing well. We had a conference call a couple hours ago and just talking about our broadcast coming up, and he's doing well. He's got two boys. His daughter's up at Princeton playing basketball, and he's got a couple sons playing high school football down here. So he's doing real well. He's doing a great job for us, too.
Before we let you run, I know you went to Ohio State, second in the nation, playing Penn State this weekend. Looks like you're going to have a nice, long, easy victory. It's going to be a long day for the Nittany Lions, right, Stan?
Well, I hope so. But the last time you went up there, a couple of years ago, the year they won the national championship, they had to go to overtime to win up there. They were up 17-0 at halftime. They ended up in a 17-17 tie and had to go to overtime to beat them up there. And you saw what happened last week at Wisconsin. They had to go to overtime to beat them up at Wisconsin. So they should be able to win this game handily. But I don't know if you've ever been at Penn State as a whiteout. When my son played at Ohio State, the Troy Smith era, he was the same year as Troy. Going up there to a whiteout is a tough place to play when you go to State College.
Definitely a raucous atmosphere. I still like the Buckeyes by probably 10 points or more. I do appreciate the time today, Stan. Best of luck, and thanks so much.
All right, you got it, buddy. Anytime.